make sure is that we're getting a full 30 seconds, we're getting the correct amount of tissue in this little tissue well, so when we deploy, we're getting the accurate amount of tissue in the well, so we're getting the best possible outcome for deployment. Once we've done that, we've had 30 to 45 seconds of unimpeded suction. What the physician's going to do is they're going to pop that off, okay? It typically flies across the room like that. We're going to hold it. We're going to hold it at that thing, at the little piece of tape, so it's at the correct number. We're going to press down, okay? It's going to go that. About 5 seconds, and then we do about a 1/8 turn, okay? It's going to pop up. If we do not see, there's a little white line right here. If we do not see that, we're going to have the physician push up, past that, and then we're going to start to pull out. If we feel any resistance at all, what we're going to do is we're going to break the handle. Like that, okay? That's going to snap the wire. Then that's going to deploy it whether it's on the esophageal wall or not. And then we're going to pull out. So we can remove the suction, we can pull out, and if it's been deployed, which it has, there's the capsule there.
Can you pass that around?
Yeah.
Your turn, does it matter? Get it clockwise, counterclockwise?
Yep.
You go either way.
So it's going to be clock. Yep. It's going to indicate right on the top there. Yep. And feel free to deploy those guys. These are all ones that we're going to burn. Yeah. Feel free to deploy those. Once we've deployed the capsule, we're going to pull out the disposable, and we're going to go down endoscopically to make sure and confirm that we're good to go.
And if you want to come up and feel what it's like with the suction before you deploy it, maybe.
I don't know if they'll get much effect with the suction if it's not in there, do you think?
I always have to check the suction before they put it down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I see.
Cover the
Yeah.
with the well, make sure that you got the suction.
Exactly.
So how?
There we go.
So you just because it's not. Well, maybe
Right here. So this piece right here, see that little trocar that's in there? That's the piece that, yes.
So they don't always have to break it to feel better.
We typically don't want them to break it. That's basically the out. If we have any sort of resistance when we've done the deployment. Correct.
I have never had to break a handle. I mean, I've done lots and lots of these. It's almost always deployed.
It's
a safety feature, but it isn't really needed.
Exactly. So you can kind of see that little tissue well right there? That's the little stainless steel trocar that's going to be attaching it to the wall. Once we've confirmed endoscopically that we've gone down and it's where we need to be and it's attached to the esophageal wall, we're going to look at the recorder itself. It's going to have a little blue light. That's going to indicate that it is connected to the recorder. So we want to make sure before we move the patient out of the room that there's a little blue light on the recorder itself. That's going to be right over here, right by this indicating button. We want to make sure that that is blue before the patient rolls out. That makes sure that we are connected and that we do have a pH reading right here. If we have a pH reading and we have the blue light, we're good to go, roll the patient, and that's about it.
And sorry, you might have said this.
Go ahead.
So you're placing it entirely blindly? Are you taking a quick look with the scope to make sure that you're actually down the esophagus?
So you're going to be placing it blind. Correct. Yep. So that's why it's so important when we get all those measurements to make sure that we're at the correct location.
Sure.
And that's why we go down.
Does anyone just go in and, because you could just go, you could throw the scope in there.
You technically,
there, right?
you technically could.
I'm just curious.
But what would be the issue that I would see is if you knock the capsule loose on accident.
Sure.
Typically that wouldn't happen. I mean, you really have to make sure that you're deploying the capsule, but typically it's going to be blind.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So we've talked through all of this. Again, these are kind of the patient steps. I do have a quick guide that we'll have printed for you guys that are in the room. It's probably in Judy's nice little pamphlet there. If you guys forget everything I'm talking about today, it's all going to be in there.
Yeah, so if anybody wants it, it's in the mobility room, just let me know tomorrow at any time.
And Brian and I are going to be at the majority of these first couple cases, so feel comfortable with not knowing everything. We're going to be there and we'll walk you through on how to do everything. If we have questions or any concerns that come up during the case, that's what we're here for.
How long does that stay attached to there?
So yeah, typically what'll happen, it'll just slough off. So anywhere from 6 to 10 days.
How long do they record?
So it depends. It depends on the physician. So typically, 48 hours.
96 hours.
96 is that typically? So it's up to the physician to depend on how long they want the study. Yep.
Is there a guide in there how to change the time if the timer is wrong on that
Yes.
thing?
Yeah. Yep.
So if the recorder is not blue and we don't
Yeah.
have a page, what are the troubleshooting things that we need to know?
Yep. So what you'll do is you'll take the recorder, and I would turn off the recorder. There's a button on the side. So we'll turn off the recorder and we'll turn it back on, okay? We want to make sure that it reboots up correctly. And then we'll make sure it could be flashing red because it's actually too far away from the patient. So the patient has to keep the recorder within 3 feet of them. If they do it any further than that, it's going to start blinking red. So basically what you'll want to do is hold the Bravo recorder close to them to make sure that it's trying to reconnect to the capsule. So you place it close to them. Give it about anywhere from 45 seconds to a couple minutes to make sure that it is connecting or not connecting. Typically what could happen is we've somehow connected to the wrong capsule. That's typically the one thing that I've seen that happens. So it's a pretty foolproof system. It typically does not have really any issues with that stuff. Where you will sometimes come into contact, I'm glad Judy has said she's never had any issues, is the deployment. Sometimes it has some issues with it deploying properly. That's basically the biggest issue that we run into. The connectivity doesn't typically have any issues with that.
So does the patient typically wear the recorder as they would a capsule recorder?
Yep, exactly, same thing. So kind of over themselves. Anything with the same as the pill cam, don't take it in a bath with them.
But there's no connections?
There's no connections, it's just like a little purse.
Recorder near them, there's
Correct.
no
Yep.
leads or anything?
Nope.
Right, so they can shower and so forth, you just
Yep.
keep the recorder as close to the shower as you can.
Oh, I
Yep.
like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the little recorder right here, here's the little pouch for it. So it's like a little purse. They just wear it over across them. Yeah, there's no leads and stuff.
That's great.
Or a
Yep.
satchel if it's a man.
Yeah, or a man purse or whatever you want, whatever makes you feel most comfortable, right?
That's all that.
Yep. Again, and then here is the confirmation that we placed it. We'll go down. Hey, we're good. We'll pull back out.
How do you break the handle if you need to?
Snap it. Do we have another one? Do we break both of them?
Ooh, I think these breaking is not.
Yep. You just break it. Yep.
Like I say, you'll,
It's not.
Yeah.
odds are you're never, ever gonna have to.
Right.
break it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when if we do have to break it, it's that 4 centimeters. So once you break it, you'll see those wires. If you want to break that for me one more time, you're going to pull about 4 centimeters out. That'll make sure that it is deployed. Like I said, either that's connected to the esophageal wall or that's just going to go right in the stomach. We can drop another capsule that same day. So there's no need to having to say, hey, it didn't work. We can drop another one if we need to.
How would that affect the connectivity to the box?
Yep. So we'll basically reconnect it. So you can punch in a combination of these buttons to reset the entire system. So that will disconnect the connection with the current one that we're connected to. So you can actually theoretically drop more than one Bravo capsule with each recorder. Typically don't. You just drop the one.
Would it make sense to go in though, if you have a deployment that's unsuccessful, would it make sense to go in and just retrieve that unsuccessful deployment and then not have that interference with your second?
If you have the ability to, typically I just see them, they just leave it. Typically it'll just slough off and they'll pass it. So
Okay. I just meant for the interference issue. I know it would pass, but
typically if we make sure that it's
it's too
connected.
time consuming to go in and try and get it.
Right, exactly. From a procedural standpoint, and if we can see that, hey, this is the correct, we're dropping the second capsule, we've connected appropriately to that second capsule, there's really no connectivity issues.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, so it looks like the recorder is picking up the deployed capsule that did not deploy correctly.
Yep, so that'll be like, you'll see a number 1 up
How do you
here.
get it to select the one you want?
So there's a combination of these buttons. I have it on my phone. It's, hold on.
Like, can you search for Wi-Fi like that? You know, it's like searching for
Yeah.
that station.
Yeah, no,
Direct
exactly.
Wi-Fi? Okay.
So you press a combination of these buttons on recorder and
And
that
we'll
will
look for the numbers that are on your tag,
Yep,
and then select it,
right,
okay.
exactly.
The other thing that you could do is, we've got 3 recorders, so the odds are there's still gonna be other recorders. And what I've done in the case where I needed a different capsule was to grab a new recorder and then just say hit to it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? I mean, that's easier than recoding the one that you got in your own.
okay.
You know, hopefully we'll keep these always, they are rechargeable batteries, by the way, so we'll keep them all charged.
Yep.
So all you have to do is come grab another, device, especially, you know.
And just go through the whole process as
You
if it
just
was a new
take
one.
the new one to the new device, make sure you send the correct recorder home with the patient.
Right.
That's the fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
And a procedure, okay.
Yep,
So
so,
how much farther up or down do they have to go with the second one? When you
so,
put your-
so we're assuming that it didn't attach to the esophageal
Same
wall
place.
at all.
But
So
if
you'll
it
do the,
did,
Mhm.
when they look in there, it's attached, it's just not working, and you put a second one,
yep,
how far up or down when we put the
so we
tape
typically wanna
measure?
either do it in parallel or,
Okay.
yeah, as close to that 6 centimeters as we possibly can without, you know, basically placing it directly on the other capsule or in any way where it would impede that deployment. Again, typically, this rarely happens, you won't run into this of
Yeah,
having to
because you'll
drop.
get no suck if it's on top of the other
If
capsule, right?
if one doesn't deploy correctly, I'm sure the doctor's saying, they're gonna go back down with the endoscope, they're gonna look.
Right,
If there's bleeding or there's been trauma or tearing to that site, they're probably gonna abort the procedure and not do a problem.
yeah.
Give them, 6 weeks to heal and then come back and redo it. But if they look at it and it's never attached at all, which is more likely,